Since its first-round exit in the WNBA playoffs in September, the Indiana Fever has spent the offseason planning the best way to improve the team around All-Star guard Caitlin Clark. Clark and fellow All-Star Aaliyah Boston form an ideal young core, and new coach Stephanie White has replaced Christy Sides on the sidelines to try to get the most out of them. This week marks the deadline for one of the toughest roster decisions facing the Fever front office. Their ultimate choice will come at a cost both on the court and perhaps more important in the locker room. With the Golden State Valkyries set to become the 13th team in the WNBA in 2025, the new franchise will construct its roster through the WNBA expansion draft. The mechanisms of the draft are complicated, but they leave each existing team with a key decision. All 12 teams had to submit a list of 6 protected players to the league by Monday. From the pool of unprotected players left, the Valkyries can choose a maximum of 1 from each team. The protection lists are not made public, but ESPN, The Athletic, and CBS Sports writers have made predictions about what each team will do. Among industry experts, there is consensus on the 6 players the Fever will protect. The 5 primary starters from 2024, Clark, Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Lisa Smith, are straightforward choices. In all 3 projections, they are joined on the protected list by forward Timmy Fagbinal, who came on strong at the end of the season. That would leave valuable pieces like Grace Berger, Damaris Dantas, and Christy Wallace unprotected. Ben Pickman and Sabrina Merchant of The Athletic were in agreement that the Valkyries would pick up Dantas, whose ability to act as a mentor in the locker room would be invaluable to the new franchise. The 32-year-old appeared in half the Fever's 40 games in the 2024 season, making 0 starts. However, her experience, 222 games played in 11 seasons, and ability to stretch the floor around Clark, 39.4% from 3 last season, would be sorely missed. We will all find out what the Valkyries decide to do on December 6 during the WNBA expansion draft. If the Fever does in fact leave Dantas at risk, it would be a huge show of faith in Clark and the young core to be able to move forward without the presence of the veteran forward. While Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are formidable rivals, the Clark Fever dominates the way. The Roddy, well in her first season, has built her brand in such a way that she looks way ahead of Reese. Considered an icon of women's sports, the number 22 in yet another spectacle leads the Chi-Town Barbie that would have upset the latter. In a recently released list of most popular women's sports-related pages on Wikipedia, Clark ranks at the top with 344,881 views. Overall, the former NCAA queen has 11,125 views on an average daily. Meanwhile, Reese, who has embraced Clark's anti-hero image since her NCAA 2023 championship finale win, wasn't in the top 15. The search for the T20 Women's World Cup held the 2nd spot, whereas Brianna Stewart was well-placed in 3rd place. It looks like people have gained interest in Stewie after she announced the upcoming Unrivaled League. Similarly, Sabrina Ionescu and Nafisa Collier occupy the 5th and 8th spots, respectively. Surely, it's a sad day for Reese, who looked to be a contender to Clark throughout the rookie season. Clark was recently invited to the Women's Leadership Summit in November ahead of the LPGA Annika Pro-Am golfing event. Along with other experts from different industries, she was honored for advocating women's causes and asked to share her experiences. While Reese was busy building her brand around her podcast, Clark has transcended sports to become an inspiration for many young girls. Meanwhile, this was not the only list where Clark proved her mettle. While Reese came into the news for being Clark's rival and got a lot of attention whenever the two clashed, the Des Moines-born kept mum about her rivalry most of the time. In one instance, she revealed that she did not look at Reese as a rival but acknowledged their competitiveness only if it helped the sport grow. Combined with bringing so many eyes to the sport, the projected revenue of the Fever this season was up by 889% as the Fever sensation was a part of 19 games that crossed 1 million in viewership, only adding to her brand. So when Sports Pro published its top 50 list of the most marketable athletes in any sport, Clark found a 4th spot with a 90.26 marketability score, a spot higher than the GOAT Lionel Messi. This showed that Clark had arrived. The double-double queen was placed at the 26th spot on the list, with her brand strength score behind Clark's. With the current list, Reese would be disappointed not to find a place on it. As for Clark, she can be happy that she is taking her brand to new heights. Perhaps it is the right time for the Clark fever to engulf other sectors, too. Indiana Fever coach Christy Sides was left raging once again after Caitlin Clark was on the receiving end of some rough treatment by the Chicago Sky on Saturday. The #1 overall pick has faced some heavy hits throughout the opening 10 games of her WNBA career, and the Fever coach has told the league she feels Clark is not getting a fair shake from the referees. Sides and the team were furious during Saturday's game after Clark was flattened by Chennedy Carter on an inbound. An away-from-play foul call was awarded in Clark's favor, but the Fever were adamant a flagrant foul should have been called. The play was not reviewed by the officials. On Sunday, though, the league retroactively upgraded it to a flagrant. Clark and her teammates responded to the incident in style, holding on for a 71-70 victory at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, improving to a 2-8 record on the season. Clark finished with 11 points, 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Clark responded to the incident with Carter in a diplomatic fashion. She said, "I wasn't expecting that. But it's just, respond, calm down and let your play do the talking. It is what it is." Carter told reporters after the game, "I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions," but Sides did not hold back in her post-game press conference, insisting the Fever will not stop putting pressure on the WNBA to ensure Clark is fairly protected. "We're just going to keep sending these possessions to the league and these plays and hope they will start taking a better look at some of the things that we see are happening or we think are happening," Sides told reporters. "I'm just more happy that Caitlin did what she did. It's tough to keep getting hammered like she does and not get rewarded with free throws. She's continued to fight through them and I appreciate that from her. I'm really proud of her." Clark and the Fever are next in action on Sunday evening when they travel to Barclays Center to face Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty. Caitlin Clark returned to her alma mater this week to watch Iowa take on Drake while being given a huge ovation and greeting her former teammates and coaches, before being furious with officials while cheering on from the stands. Clark spent 4 seasons with the Iowa Hawkeyes, going down as the school's greatest women's basketball player of all time, and one of the best to ever do it in the NCAA while setting countless records, before she moved on to the WNBA this year, being the first overall pick selected by the Indiana Fever. In her 4 years, she elevated the Hawkeyes to championship contention, reaching the championship game in 2024 in just the second time in the school's history. And while Iowa are not considered to be among the stronger teams this year after Clark's exit, that didn't stop the 22-year-old from passionately supporting on her former team this week. Clark could be seen, and heard, from the stands as she disputing a controversial officiating call during the game at Knapp Center in Des Moines, with the guard out of her seats. Clark had been angered with the referees over a foul call involving her ex-teammate Addison O'Grady, who looked like she'd been hit when attempting a shot. The WNBA superstar will now have the next 6 months away from the sport, where she could return to Iowa for further games throughout the 2024-25 season, with her second year with the Fever not scheduled to begin until May 2025. However, she is said to have multiple offers to continue playing overseas, as many WNBA stars take up while playing across Europe. In her 4 years with Iowa, Clark became the NCAA's all-time leading scorer after overtaking Kelsey Plum's 3,527-point mark, while also setting a record for the most three-pointers in one season, 155. Clark has already begun her lengthy offseason this fall, playing in a Annika Pro-Am golf tournament in Florida, where she had nearly hit a spectator with a wayward shot. After an incredible rookie season in the pros, winning the Rookie of the Year award, Clark led the Fever to an unlikely playoff spot, with the team eventually being defeated by the Connecticut Sun in the first round of the postseason.